Hello. There's a word that some Christians use. It's an old Hebrew word, and it can be used as hello or goodbye, and as Christians we sometimes use it to mean peace. It's the word shalom. But the word shalom means more than just peace. It means health and well-being as well, and it speaks of the economy of God. How God would like us to live with one another. If you happen to have a spare hour, you might like to read the book of Leviticus right at the beginning of the Bible. Now, that was written at a time when the people of God had been saved from slavery and brought out of Egypt. And it's God speaking to them and telling them how they are to live in the promised land, the land that God was going to give them. Now, the promised land was to be divided up, and every tribe and every family was to have land of their own. And although the land continued to belong to God, it was to be owned by that family in perpetuity, forever. Now, that meant that every family had the means to feed themselves. But if that family got into difficulty, they could sell the harvests of that land to somebody else. But that wouldn't be permanent, because every 50th year was to be a year of Jubilee, and that land could be redeemed, should be redeemed, would be redeemed for that family. In other words, they couldn't even give the land away because it always belonged to them. And if a man got into difficulty and couldn't pay his debts, he could redeem himself, or he should be redeemed by his kinfolk, by his brother or his uncle or other relation. In other words, we're all responsible for the well-being of each other. That man would not stay in slavery because he also would be released in the year of Jubilee. Jesus developed that idea when he walked on the earth of our responsibility to one another, that we are all part of the same family, God's family, that I should not profit to the detriment of someone else. The ancient rules said, don't cheat each other, don't make a profit, don't loan at an interest rate. And those rules persist. After Jesus was crucified, when he went back to heaven and left the Holy Spirit, the new church endeavoured to live by those rules. You can read about it in the New Testament, in the book of Acts, right at the end of chapter 2. It said they met together frequently and they held everything in common and they gave to each other as they had need. They lived in shalom, in peace and well-being. But at the moment, my heart is breaking because my brothers and sisters over the sea, my Christian friends across the pond, do not have shalom. They do not live in peace. They are persecuted. Now, there's lots of rhetoric at the moment about how I couldn't possibly understand what it's like to be a black man living in America. And whilst that is true, I do understand what it's like to be a woman in a man's world. I do understand what it's like to be older in a young person's world. I do understand what it's like to grow up having a non-English name. But I don't need to put myself into that position. I don't need to know exactly what it's like for you to feel your pain, my brother, my sister, and to wish you shalom. My Christian brothers and sisters, I cannot redeem, I cannot restore, but I can pray for shalom for them and for my Christian brothers and sisters throughout the world, wherever there is persecution because of people group or nation or nationality or skin colour. My Father in heaven charged me to live in harmony with my brothers and sisters, desiring their well-being, their health, their peace, their shalom above my own. If all I can do is pray, then I will pray for that shalom. And I invite you to do the same. Stay safe.